E chi sei qua? Hanno lasciato aperto.
Scusa. Facciamo comunque.
Ma sei tu?
È proprio una festa, come hai detto. Ma sapevi che tutti vieni?
Yeah, no, non lo sapevo io che venivano qua improvvisata. Lo studio è chiuso.
Sì, infatti.
Brian.
Ciao. Sono Brian. Piacere. All right. We're ready.
Yeah, ready.
I'm here with Crez.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, yeah.
Do you have a last name or is it Crez, like Cher?
Well, Crez is my name in the business, but my name is Massimiliano Fragaria.
Oh, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Brian.
It's great that you're able to spend the time and do this podcast with us.
Fun.
It's been a kind of a long time in the making because last time I saw you were in Denmark.
Yeah, it was Denmark this summer. Now it was July. We have listened to the other podcast you did, so yeah.
Okay, so you know what you're getting into.
When I paint, now I listen to your podcast.
Really?
So, yeah.
That's hilarious. You've been on the radio before. Yeah, I think the last time we talked.
Yeah. I had a little radio program when I was about 16.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this kind of underground radios here in Italy.
Okay.
Was mostly like political ruled, let's say, and they gave us like a little show once a week, a couple of hours, and it was total chaos. Like, it was drinking beer, breaking up everything, and we get discussion with the radio owner every weekend. But it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Was it mostly like a talk radio, or did they have music as well?
Yeah, it was talk, bad jokes, bad phone calls to friends and family and make bad jokes, and music, of course. It was chaotic. We were like graffiti guys, punk rockers, skaters, and we were talking about our things, which in Italy wasn't that normal.
Sure.
So we get phone calls from people like complaining on the service, and of course we take the piece of them.
Yeah, it must have been great to just have them fuel the flame and just be like, call in.
Yeah, we ask them to find a way to insult us the best they can, because we had a lot of fun listening to people yelling at you. Yeah, that was just stupid things.
Right.
There was nothing serious. That's why the radio owner was complaining, because he thought we were like politically ready to talk, and we were not.
No.
Like, absolutely.
Just a lot of fart jokes on the radio.
Yeah, all this kind of stupidity, but that was us.
Mm-hmm. That's my direction here on the podcast, is to keep it going in that direction where we don't really talk about anything important. We just lots of fart jokes.
Yeah, because that's what life is about. Having fun.
Yeah, you can't take things too serious. But that's cool. So you're ready. You're probably more experienced than I am doing this thing here.
Might be. I don't know. I was very unprofessional as a radio DJ. So,
but you have done some interviews. I was looking on the site, and you and Steffi, I believe, did interviews for Tattoo Life in the past.
Yes. Miki Vialetto asked me to make some interviews on people focused on classic Japanese tattooing. And I pick up the artists that I like and interview them. Most of them are friends of mine. Some are becoming friends, but it's interesting. And I like to make... So when I was a kid and I was... reading a skateboard magazine, for example, there was a magazine called Skate and Snowboard. They feature a skater every month with 10 questions, the same 10 questions for everybody. And I copied that idea and I did it for my interviews, because basically I like to get on these 10 topics the answers from different people. So when I read them, I can, me and the people that like to read the blog, can have an idea on how every different artist doing even the same thing are approaching differently. So as a tattooer, for me, is very interesting,
Yeah, it's similar to me. Like, I'm not really too much interested in what colors people are using or anything like that, but like their approach, like the mindset behind it, I think that's more important in a way, for more so like the longevity of tattooing and making artwork.
Absolutely. Nowadays, the technical issue is not an issue anymore. Like you can learn tattooing even at school if you want, no? Like I saw in the US, there was a big conversation about that. Here, people don't really care. In Asia, people don't really care. There's tattoo academies and school all over the place. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't have the answer to this question. I don't like it because normally it looks to me like somebody that want to profit on young people that want to learn a craft.
Sure.
So I still think the apprenticeship in a shop is the way to learn tattooing. But at the same time, that makes a big difference. So now people that open a shop have an idea of what they're doing. Maybe have a wrong idea, but they have one, so they can tattoo. Most of them. The level in general, compared to the year when I started, is fairly raised. It's like now there's good tattooers around there. And I might like the tattoos they do, but I don't like the approach, as you said, no? One thing I've learned in Japan, I've never been there as an apprentice in Japan because I'm self-taught. And when I was there, I was already tattooing since 10 or more years. But one thing my friend teach me is that it's not only important the tattoo you get, like it's a nice tattoo, is well done, but the person who does it and the energy that this person drive in this tattoo is very important.
Sure.
Because if you get tattooed by an asshole, you're gonna have a permanent reminder of an asshole on your arm, you know? And I don't want that.
Exactly, and no matter how good it is, you still remember
it's still
that
sketchy,
experience.
you know, because every time you look at it, you feel a little sad, you remember this, because I think tattooing is a little traumatic experience. So every traumatic experience stay fixed somewhere in our minds because you remember when you hurt yourself.
Sure.
For all your life, you remember. And if these 2 hours that you spent with this guy or this lady was awful and you feel abused or mistreated or whatever, or simply there was no any kind of connection, what are you going to take with you?
All right. Yeah, and I mean, for yourself as an artist, having that approach, if you're not having some sort of connection with the person, then what fun is that as well? For me personally, I always have to remember that there's another person there with me. And sometimes when I forget, the job isn't as rewarding or fun. It's just like, oh, I'm just doing work. But the thing I get most out of it, even if it's something that I'm not particularly enjoying doing, but just enjoying the person and going out of my way to even like ask about them and what they like, what they're interested in. Some tattoo that I'm not interested in doing becomes a much better experience than something that I'm...
I agree completely. To me, tattooing is university. Like every day, I have the chance to spend a couple of hours with 2 people. That's my kind of job. You know, I do big scale work, so of course it's going to be sessions and long-term relationships. But the thing is that these 2 persons, like everybody has a lot of things to teach me, you know. And I'm very careful when people talk to me, and I listen a lot to people. Even if they are stupid, because, you know, because it's very important to listen to stupid people to understand how you don't want to be. Now I'm 25 years tattooing and I've seen a lot of them. And mostly at the beginning of my career, it was like criminals and people like that. So I know how I don't want to be, you know, and that was like... to have a crystal ball and you can see the future, you know, and okay, if I behave like this guy, then I'm gonna look and act like this motherfucker. So it teach me a lot, you know, and I think it's the direct experience. So it's very important why this person choose you between a million. They deserve to be respected for their choice. You choose to tattoo them. So once I've said yes, then I'm gonna give you my time. Of course, I don't like to waste my time. Wasting time means doing things that you don't really believe or that you don't really want to do it, or spend time with people you don't really like. That's the challenge, you know, with tattooing. You must enjoy your customers And they need to feel welcomed and treated like a king in this moment. Because for you, that's routine. That's every day. You make your machines, you have your colors, surrounded by drawings. That's our daily life.
Sure.
For them, it's a special thing. And it's, I think, very expensive. Because tattooing is not cheap.
No, of course.
So when somebody that work their ass off for 8 hours a day, they come and, they pay me, you really understand what I'm doing, because it's a lot of work, but I like to do it. So I will do it any case. But the fact that you recognize that it's a hard work, then thank you. And for me, my customer is very important.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I had many conversations with people kind of about this. The only other couple was Amar and Barbara. And you guys are friends with them as well.
Of course, yeah. Ciao.
But I remember them talking very much about that connection and that same appreciation for the client. And
I think now is a little lost. No, sometimes when I see them, everybody can do what they want. No, but let me say, when I see people tattooing a little girl in a convention with their headphones on and not listening to this person, just giving pain for 3-4 hours without a break or without even looking at her, or asking, how are you doing? This for me is too much. This is not tattooing as I think it should be, So in my shop, this is not going to happen. For me, everybody's free. Everybody can take this job as they like. There is no rules. But in my shop, I make the rules. Me and Steffi, of course. And the rule is respect for the others. And first of all, everybody's an individual. And everybody, no matter his background, is an important person because they walk in, And then if they behave good with you, you have to behave good.
But I think that's a good way to go about it, because when you say, respect others, the thing that follows is appreciation. And along with that appreciation, you kind of set a boundary, or not a boundary, but a goal, even for others who see it. If you're respecting the client, they in turn respect you, and you're able to kind of have that connection.
One thing, for example, that bubbles in my mind about that is once many colleagues, when we were talking, once we were not that many in Italy, in 5 people, it was a convention already, when we go for a pizza. But then we were talking, and many of them was always complaining about the fact that people don't understand their new designs, I want to do this, but it's too difficult in Italy and this and that. Yeah, that was frustrating, but I think it's not the people that don't understand. It's about you, that you cannot communicate it. That's the point. Because everybody, understand even crazy things. There's tattooers that make a living out of crazy fucking shit, But the way they communicate it, that's genius. I'm a big fan of Dave Lam, now retired tattooer. But I mean, if this guy can put this kind of tattoos on people, come on.
And even in the late 80s and,
doing like in an era where people want to get a dolphin and the sun, and he was covering people in dicks, So, I mean, that's genius to me, like unbelievable.
It's a thought that comes into my mind a lot because I look at myself when I'm enjoying tattooing the most, and it's mostly when I've kind of gone out of my way to do what the client wants instead of thinking like, oh, this is my artwork, this is what I'm trying to push and all that stuff. I find like when I'm pushing too much, I end up hating it the most. But if I can kind of not even meet the person in the middle, be like, what do you want? Okay, I can do that, and then try my hardest to do it. It might not be exactly what I want to show other people, but I'm enjoying it more. It's a weird kind of paradox, I think.
Because the thing is, when they ask me, do what you want, nah, you don't want me to do what I want, You don't have the balls to take it, for sure, because I'm fucking crazy. So if you ask me to draw what I want, it's going to be a crazy scene. And people is going to look at me and say, what the fuck is this? Who are you? What do you like? So they tell me, they give me a hint. I like this, I like that, or I want this, I want that. So then I work on their ideas. And I see what they like about my work. I show them my pictures and do you like this? No, sometimes people say, no, this is shit, and it's your stuff. And I take it with a smile because in their mind, this is shit. And that's okay for me. Everybody has their own taste. So I don't get offended, no? I try to understand exactly what you want, so I can draw like I want what you like. That's the goal you want to play. And I like to do walk-ins when I have time. So when I travel, for example, this and that, I enjoy a lot the walk-in shop, because this is only stupid idea. No, not only, maybe 80% stupid idea. No, 20% is sometimes crazy good stuff, but 80% is the infinite symbol, or I don't know. But even this is a little relationship. It's gonna take you 5 minutes, maybe half an hour to put the stencil on. Cause
Yeah, of course. And how long have you guys been operating here in Marghera?
So the shop in front opened in 1997. Then we did like 15 years there. Yeah, in 2012, and then we move here, and so far so good.
Wow, incredible!
I'm happy.
Yeah. How old were you when you started tattooing?
I started professionally, let's say, with a real machine and a sterilizer when I was 17.
Oh wow!
But I was already tattooing myself and my friends with a jailhouse machine, this kind of shit.
That's the same age as me when I started.
Yeah, very, very young, much better. The
You're
younger,
much better
the
now,
better.
I hope.
The younger, the better. Because I had a lot of apprentices. Some finished their apprenticeship, some others didn't. Some are tattooing, some others don't. People is different. But many of them asked me apprenticeship when they were already over 20.
Okay.
Maybe 25, somebody 30. One guy now is 42. So I tell them, one thing is you start when you are irresponsible. Another thing is that you start when, you're grown up, so you have more paranoia. It's much more difficult. Even if before you are a painter, you are the best airbrush artist, let's say. But tattooing is a different kind of game. There's a lot of talking, and you must know people and respect, as we were saying, but even understand. Because a little wrong sentence makes understand that you don't respect enough the person. So they say, why should I give this guy my money? And they are right if they do. This is very complex. Again, you can be a great artist, but to be a great tattooer, that's a different game, because it's not only artist. It's a craftsmanship. So there's a kind of empathic side to tattooing that somebody has, somebody don't, and then you're gonna have the customer related to your way of approaching this job.
It's true. You do need to know how to talk, because you see so many people. I'm sure we're friends with some of the same people that should be the busiest people in the world, the best artists that we all look up to, and then we just see they're slow. It's just not because they don't have the ability. It's just the communication side is low.
Because again, today abilities, technique, and all these things is not an issue. There's people doing disgusting tattoos, no? And I see people complaining about it, but they are busy. So for me, they are right. As long as you can sell what you do, then you have a good shop. Right. I don't want to judge the artistic side, because this is is my opinion, so who cares? But the thing is that the facts are that some people is more commercial with absolutely no idea of what they're doing, and that's what people like. For example, how perverted is that? But that's the world, so either you accept it or you're gonna complain and keep bitching all your life like a little kid. Come on.
Right. Now, in Italy, things have changed quite a bit. I think I've been trying to wrap my head around what was going on maybe 15 years ago or so. I wasn't too connected in what was going on here, but was Japanese tattooing very big back then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was nobody giving a fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, only Fercioni was good friend with Horiyoshi III, and Horiyoshi, he came over in Rome Tattoo Convention in 1985. Of course, there was a lot of respect about Japanese tattooing, and Rizzoli, that is an Italian editor, edited the book Rancho from Masato Sudo. Japanese tattooing, everybody knows it exists, but like Marco Pisa was doing some Japanese tattoos in Bologna, and Fercioni was even hand poking, like doing some tebori. But both of them was not only Japanese tattooing. They were tattooer. That was the time, no? In the early 90s, it was impossible. For me, it was my wet dream. One day, I would love to make sleeves.
Yeah.
You know, that was my dream. And of course, it was frustrated. So I can make all sorts of tattoos because, of course, I've started and I do them all. And I like to do them all, actually. But I choose to work on Japanese tattoo mostly because, for my opinion, nobody was doing it as I like it. So I started, then very quickly I understand that it was so complicated for me that I needed to focus only in this style. Not because I don't like the rest, because I still like many kind of tattoos, but my feelings are more in this kind of drawing and imagery. So I was very interested in going there and discovering out there. So I started studying here and then in Japan.
Around what time was that?
2003, I've been to Japan first time.
Okay.
But I have mail, like real mail, not email, connection with Japanese tattooers since maybe 5 or 6 years before I've been there. And then the internet arrived, so we started to email.
Right.
And then in the 90s or beginning of 2000, some Japanese tattooers from Ryu family, Shiryu and Horyu, they came over in Strasbourg at the place of a friend of mine, Sasha Land, and now he's in Oslo, Tiger City Tattoo. And so they saw my flash that I gave to my friend, and they wanted to meet me because they like it, no? So I was like, wow, super flattered. I drove the car and go to France and meet these guys. We hang out for a weekend, get busted together, of course. We were all into the punk rock kind of thing. So I invited them over in Venice. They've never seen Venice, so they came over. We spent, at that time, we were living in a very small house, like 35 meters square. Like a van upstairs. And we guested 3 of them, like Horyu, Shiryu, and then a Korean guy that was arriving in Venice by plane. And he's my apprentice. Is okay if he sleep at your place? Yeah. You squeeze. And so they came over and we did. Like we spent an awesome week together. So, and then I promised we're going to go in January 2003. I stayed there for a month and a half. I had a few times to sightsee. It was very busy at that time, Japan. There was nothing that I've seen about Japanese tattooing till that moment. Because, of course, what I've seen till now was Horiyoshi, was, of course, all the media featured artists. So at that time was Horiwaka, Horiyoshi, and because of the book Rancho. And there was Hideo Uchiyama. There was a guy doing the Philip Liu style in Japan. He was very good tattooer, but that was it. I discovered something incredible for me because there was a bunch of families and everything was private, so you need to know people to get around. And the customer was like, a clientele that is approaching something illegal in Japan. There is a very loyal country, so where people doesn't do what the fuck they want. That's a choice. That's a heavy choice to do in Japan. And I was impressed by that, big time. Because here was still, you still look like a junkie. But now different. Now you look like a football player. But at that time, I was tattooed since when I was 15. So imagine, people was looking at me like garbage, white trash. And in Japan, I felt like... I remembered how it was in the early 90s here, and I've seen the discrimination that is even worse. Because over there. Because here there's the hypocrisy. So you're fully tattooed at that time, you apply for a job, they're going to tell you, we find another person. So they're not going to tell you, you're ugly, get the fuck out. In Japan, they're not telling you you're ugly, get the fuck out, but they politely gonna tell you you have tattoos, so you're not supposed to stay here. Which, for me, of course, even if it's their culture or whatever, it's a wrong way to approach humans in general, because you're discriminating somebody for their choices. You're not God. You're not a super judge that you can tell me what the fuck I gotta do with my life.
Right. When you went over there, how much of a desire did you have to really kind of learn the stories and the details of like the layout? I come across a lot of people and I go back and forth with my thinking about it. But I was wondering where you felt on the category or...
Well, I've been there researching the background. I wanted to see the temples, I wanted to see the painters' works, because I was very fascinated by, much more than by the tattooers, by the painters and the artists in Japan. So all the Kano school, Hokusai, Kuniyoshi, all these guys. Because I was buying this expensive book at that time. We were broke. It was not busy here, like we were broke. So to afford 80 euros books from Holland, wow, but look what there is inside, and you can skip 2 or 3 pages, but this is where we put our money. So we start to read this book, we start to get the informations, and then we want to verify them, because yes, it's a book, it's written by a teacher and whatever you want, but there's always some imprecision. So I'm very picky on that. I want to see the place itself, see how the vibration I get back, either artistically and historically. So for me, it was very important. And when you understand the history, then the drawing you're doing makes sense. When you draw, you understand how to make sense. If you don't know, for example, that Jiraiya has the magic of the toad, when you draw it, no, it's you're drawing a nice man on top of a frog, but why is that? And what is this magic? So maybe you read a story about that and they give you another version of this, and so in your mind can pop up an image that you can reproduce. I don't like to copy ukiyo-e straight. I mean, I like it because I really like ukiyo-e, but that's not my research. There's other people doing much better than me. I like to learn this alphabet, let's say, and then speak by myself. Do my own kind of subjects, maybe reflecting the land where I live. Like, I don't know, Hito Jakuchu painted the cocks and hens he has in front of his. This is the best reference you can have. I live here, there's the lagoon, there's fish, there's a lot of things, and I like to reproduce it.
Yeah. That's kind of where my head was at as far as the things around me, kind of drawing it through the lens of how you would see a Japanese woodblock print.
Yeah.
But not knowing all the stories and having a hard time keeping up with that, I feel almost like my hands are tied because I'm like, okay, did they have this pattern on the clothing? Were they prompt on a bridge? What season was it? It's just like you start to hyperventilate before you even get started.
Yeah, but that's a little Western mentality. I want to learn the meanings around that. But when you study for real, you understand that there is no meaning in particular, but that's the whole Japanese culture reflected in this painting. For example, I talk to colleagues that tell me, oh, this guy put cherry blossom with maple leaves. That's wrong. I mean, that's not wrong. It depends how you do it. If you can make a nice composition with the 4th season, for example, that's perfectly correct. I don't see anything wrong. Or maybe this guy is at a level that he can communicate with what he does. For example, once I was talking with a Yakuza boss, like a tough guy, and this guy has the full body of cherry blossoms. And on his back, he has a Orochimaru. On top of Orochimaru, he put a little maple leaf. Between all this... Just one.
Yeah.
And he said, because I'm an outlaw. And that's, what I'm doing. You want to tell him he was wrong? Because I don't.
No.
And I think when you know the culture, when you study and you understand the aesthetic and the philosophy behind it, that's much more important. Because then when you have the full idea of what the philosophy behind Japanese culture and this particular part of Japanese culture, which is working class Japanese culture, because we have to remember, ukiyo-e and tattooing don't come from the top of the society, but come from the bottom of the society. This is where I am from. So for me, it was natural to do research on all the working class things because I'm pretty proud of my roots. And that was fascinating to me because, for example, no theater is very nice, beautiful, but kabuki theater, I can understand it way quicker. And kabuki theater is from the working class. And actually was even forbidden to see to the samurai and the bushi.
Oh, wow.
Because it was in the pleasure quarters. And that was for the working class again. Because we know how to have fun.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Again, very appreciative. Can you maybe tell us where we can find you?
Well, you can find me in my shop in Marghera, Adrenalink Tattooing, or on Instagram, Crez_Adrenalink. And, around the globe sometime, I work in special shops of people that I like.
But you'll be in London soon.
I will
correct?
be in London, yeah.
I forget what the dates are, the 20s.
It's the end of September.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be there tattooing walk-ins, small stuff. But if somebody wants something big, better they call and book me up. I like to do the walk-ins anyway.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Grazie.